Here is something you won't hear from the Vatican press office. Pope Leo XIV is quietly bypassing the Roman Curia and replacing Careerist bishops with a shadow cabinet of lay traditionalists. Since his election in May 2025, Leo XIV has frozen the career paths of powerful curial officials. In their place, a circle of lay experts now advises him directly. They operate outside canon law and clerical accountability, answering only to the Pope himself. This is the most significant shift in Vatican governance since the 16th century. The Pope has made his strategy clear. In November 2025, he issued a motu proprio, removing the last legal obstacle preventing laymen and women from presiding over the commission that oversees the Vatican's legislative and administrative life. He also confirmed lay women as members of the dicastery for bishops, the very office that selects bishops worldwide. At the same time, he's received leading traditionalist figures like Cardinals Burke, Sarah, Zen, and Mueller, as well as Bishop Athanasius Schneider. These are not ceremonial meetings, they are strategy sessions. The message is clear: the old clerical guard is being sidelined. On March 5, 2026, the Pope granted a private audience to these prelates who spoke to him about the distress felt by traditionalist communities struggling to preserve the ancient liturgy under restrictive diocesan policies. Why lay advisors? Because the Curia has become a bottleneck. Careerist bishops have spent decades stifling traditionalist reforms. By turning to laymen, the Pope bypasses that bureaucracy entirely. These advisors use private funding networks and modern data analytics to monitor diocesan compliance with new liturgical mandates. This internal bypass is creating a massive rift between the ordained administration and the sovereign authority of the Holy See. One Vatican observer noted that Leo XIV seems well aware that any leader struggles to govern without involving the apparatus. His solution is not to reform the apparatus, but to go around it. Meanwhile, the Pope has moved decisively to restructure the Curia, placing experienced diplomats at key nodes of influence and signaling a preference for discreet, technically proficient leadership after years marked by turbulence. For traditionalist Catholics, this is a moment of quiet hope. I spoke with a layman named Michael from Texas who leads a traditionalist prayer group. For years we felt abandoned. Now the Pope is listening to people like us, not just cardinals. His group has doubled in size since Leo XIV's election. The inner circle is systematically reintroducing pre-Vatican II liturgical standards. In March 2026, the Pope called on French bishops to find concrete solutions to integrate traditionalists into their liturgies, acknowledging that a painful wound remains within the Church. In October 2025, he granted Cardinal Raymond Burke permission to celebrate the traditional Latin Mass at St. Peter's Basilica, a symbolic reversal of Pope Francis's restrictions. Bishop Athanasius Schneider, who had a private audience with the Pope on December 18, 2025, has publicly praised the Pope's spirituality and his use of traditional papal vestments and Latin blessings, calling his personnel decisions of paramount importance for the Church's future. Each policy change is framed as a return to an ancient, unchangeable truth that supersedes current administrative preferences. The inner circle argues that lay-led traditionalism is the only way to insulate the papacy from the internal sabotage of modernizing cardinals. Their ultimate goal is not merely to restore the old liturgy, but to permanently reshape the governance of the Church itself. High-ranking clergy have begun forming underground networks to resist these lay advisors, but the Pope has responded by deploying apostolic visitors who use lay-gathered evidence to remove non-compliant prelates. The Vatican has become a digital battlefield where leaked memos and private decrees dictate the Church's survival. The most significant test of this model came in February 2026 when the SSPX announced plans to consecrate new bishops without papal approval.
Cardinal Victor Fernandez proposed a theological dialogue with the Traditionalist group, but warned that proceeding with the consecrations would constitute a decisive rupture of ecclesial communion, a schism. Bishop Athanasius Schneider, however, publicly appealed to the Pope to grant the SSPS permission for the consecrations, arguing that this would build a bridge between Rome and the Traditionalist world. The Pope's handling of this crisis will reveal whether his reliance on Traditionalist lay advisors is a genuine alliance or a fragile political calculation. If this model succeeds, the future is clear. A pope who functions more like an absolute monarch supported by a civilian technocracy. The path is cleared for a permanent shift toward liturgical rigor. And the ultimate goal? To ensure that Leo XIV's successor is beholden to the same traditionalist framework they have meticulously built. The question for faithful Catholics is whether this quiet revolution will heal the Church or fracture it further. One thing is certain, the old rules no longer apply.